Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome back to another live stream here on my YouTube channel. I'm a little jet lagged. I just got back from vacation yesterday. So please be patient with me if I am not as sharp as usual because my brain is not in crafting mode yet. I am like itching to get in and create with all of you, but that's why if I'm a little slow. So hello to everyone over in the chat. Hi, Sika. Sika was with me on vacation. Sika, how's the jet lag? Are you dragging today as well? I'm dragging. I'm not a dragon. I am dragging. I should specify. Um, yes, I have slept. Ashley's asking if I've slept at all. I did sleep for about 4 hours right when I got home, and then I slept probably about another 4 or 5 last night. But I'm just exhausted. What is it? It just wipes it out of you, right? Yeah, Sika says dragging so badly, right? It's crazy. Well, I want to let you guys know, if you didn't see already, that mail call is scheduled for Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So I hope you'll come back and join me. I was considering doing mail call tonight because it is considerably later than usual in the month for me to do a mail call video and open the mail. But I realized that tonight would probably be a little bit low energy for me. So it might be best to do some crafting, and we will do all the excitement with opening the mail on Wednesday. So please come back and join me on Wednesday afternoon. I'm trying to think if there's any other announcements that I need to. I think that's about it. I think we're going to jump into it. Some of you are saying thank you for the Instagram stories and that you watched my Instagram stories. Yeah, if you'd like to see more of what adventures we got up to in, let's see, Spain, Malta, Turkey, and Greece, you can check out my Instagram. In fact, just today, I went for my allergy shots. In fact, my arm's probably all red. Is my arm all red? I can't tell. I went for my allergy shots today, and they make you wait in the waiting room for about 30 minutes after your shots, just to make sure you don't have a bad reaction. I've never had a bad reaction, so I wasn't expecting one, but they still make me stay for 30 minutes. And so I was just killing time, and I thought, you know what? I'll go through my Instagram stories and I'll put them in highlights for the Mediterranean cruise. So if you go to my Instagram, it's linked down below. My Instagram name is Star of May because I love stars and I was born in May. So go there, and then the three little circles, those are my highlights from my Instagram stories. And I had to split it up into 3 different highlights. They're Med Cruise 1, Med Cruise 2, and Med Cruise 3. And you can just watch all of our adventures all the way until we come home. So, and lots of, like, I would say probably half of all of the Instagram stories is food. Like what I was eating on the cruise, because this cruise ship had wonderful food in the restaurants. We were on the Celebrity Ascent. So Celebrity Cruises, their ship that's called Ascent, and the food was just really spectacular. The cruise I went on with Jennifer last summer to Alaska was also on Celebrity. So I knew what to expect as far as food goes. In fact, there were some favorites that we had on the cruise ship last year that reappeared this year, and that was a lot of fun. Vicky, yes, food and cats. Yes. I will say, you know what? Whenever I travel, whenever I go places, I love to find all of the cats. I like to find all the cats, see all the kitties, pet them. They're just fun. I love it. Yes. Oh, Sharon, the other half is cats. Yeah. Yeah. Cats and food. You can see my priorities here, right? Okay, let's jump into what I'm going to be creating tonight. So I thought, you know, while I was gone, my July 2025 release came out. And this was one of my favorite cards that I created using my brand new release products. This actually has 3 different products used on it. We have the Daisy Bouquet Stencil, and then I have this die cut from the More Thin Frames dies. There are frames for the actual, you know, that make up the bulk of the die set, but inside the frames, because there was space, I decided to use the space for some die cut greetings. So there's a greeting that I'm going to be using. And then this kind of like kind of almost like water droplet texture was created using one of the Splatter texture stencils. So I'm actually going to recreate this card tonight. I'm going to change up the colors just a tiny bit, just for fun, for funsies, and we're going to go from there. Oh, thank you. Ashley says, such a good release. Thank you so much for that. Sylvia in the chat, I can speak for that. You love cats. Yes, it's true. When we were in Maui, and Sylvia was there, I believe, we went to a cat cafe. We did see, where was it? Ooh, was it Athens? Yes, in Athens we saw an ad for a cat cafe. We didn't go though. We had other plans that day. We went to go see some ancient ruins. Okay, so let's start out with the stenciling. So this is the Daisy Bouquet stencil set. When you put them all together, they look like this, or here's an actual example, right? There are, I think, 4 stencils. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and then this top one, which I put a little bit of Pixie Spray on the back. So it's just ever so slightly tacky on the back. And it does help when it comes to all of the stenciling to do that for this particular stencil. So let's get into it. I think I'm going to stencil onto a larger piece of cardstock. I'm just going to use like a, what is this? I think it's half a sheet of regular. It's 5.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to be stenciling on this because I haven't decided quite yet if I want to do a 5 by 7 card or maybe even a, like a A2 card. I haven't quite decided yet. Okay, I'm putting this down. This is my Altenew little grip mat. It's the large 9 by 12. And I'm just going to go ahead and put my paper down right here. Dun, dun, dun. All right. In fact, you know what? I'm trying to think. 5.5. Let's see. I might want to turn it the other direction because, oh no, we're okay. It would only, yeah, we're good. We'll start with this. In fact, I'm going to start with this particular stencil. So this is the one that I put Pixie Spray on the back. Pixie Spray, if you've never used it before, is, well, they describe it as a light tack repositionable adhesive for stencils. That's exactly what it is. You spray it on the back of your stencil and it puts just the teeny tiniest little itty bitty tackiness onto the back of the stencil so it holds to your paper and it doesn't move around. I find it works really well for stencils that have little intricate areas like this. I did, when I was testing this stencil, I did use it without Pixie Spray, and it is possible to do the stencil without Pixie Spray. You just have to be a little bit more gentle and not like, do your ink blending too aggressively. But I find that Pixie Spray really does help. So I went ahead and applied it here. So I'm going to do the background. Let me show you. This is the blue area, the navy blue area on this card. I thought I would change it up, and let's do the background in a dark green, kind of a dark muted green, teal green. This is Rainforest from Concord and Ninth. I thought that would be a really pretty kind of change, but still have that same kind of dark vibe. So I'm going to be using a mini blending brush from Altenew. I find it works really well for these areas right around the flowers where you kind of have to get into the crevices of the daisies. I found that just easiest to do that. And I'm also going to try to not apply too much ink right off the bat because I've noticed, especially with these Concord and Ninth stencils, or those stencils in my line that are manufactured by Concord and Ninth, that because they use a thicker stencil material, if you're not careful, you can really get a lot of ink pooling in the crevices of the stencil itself, and then you can get some bleeding underneath the stencil. So I find it better to almost start with a more dry brush, if your ink's not too juicy, and then build up from there, because otherwise you can really get a lot of kind of like that pooling in the corners. Hi, Barbara. Barbara says, nice to catch you live for a change. Well, I'm glad you made it. I'm excited. we have a lot of fun. My chat's usually really, really nice. If you have questions, if I don't see it right away, someone in the chat can usually answer it. They're very helpful. I love that about all of my online YouTube buddies that watch my lives. They're very chatty. They check in with each other. They make sure they're doing okay. I love that. Okay, in fact, if you have any other questions, now's the time to ask them, especially if I can answer them while I'm doing this ink blending, because this background is going to take a while. As you can tell, this is a smaller brush, so I have to go over these areas. You know, it takes a little bit of time. All right, I'm going to scroll up on the comments. People are talking about Greece, the different places they've been. Maria says, love your hair. Thank you, Maria. That's so sweet of you. I have been, like many of you who've been watching my lives over the last few months, I have been on a curly girl journey, curly hair journey, trying to figure out how to do my hair with my natural texture of my hair. It's more wavy like this. And this was the first vacation that I've gone on that I kind of had to like adapt and kind of do things a little bit differently. I had planned to do my hair wavy curly the entire time, but I realized that, you know, when you're getting up early trying to make those excursion times, sometimes it's just not possible. Shai's asking, where did I get those enamel dots for the brushes? These are actually the enamel dots from Concord and Ninth. I have most of their colors, not all of them. I have most of them. And gosh, it was probably a year ago when Sika, who's in the chat, she was visiting and she was staying at my house, and she set up these brushes. She put the different colors on the brushes and I was good to go. I basically have like a light and a dark for each color. But for greens, I do have like a traditional light green, dark green, and then I also have kind of like aqua blue green shades. So this is the dark one for the more teal shades. Jen's asking, are you still using K18? I found out Sam's doesn't carry in store anymore, but I found en route. You know what? I've not used K18 again since that first time I used it, which was great. They really recommend to only use it once a month, and I haven't used it since. I probably should. I feel like my hair, like K18 is a really good protein treatment, I believe, reparative treatment, and my hair was doing really well, so I didn't feel like I needed to use it. So I haven't used it in a while, but I have kept up with the Olaplex number 3. I do that about every other week or so. And I also regularly use a detox mask on my hair from Inner Sense. Diana, it was too hot and humid. Yes, it was really hot and humid. I only did my hair curly twice, and it was near the beginning of the vacation, of the trip. It just takes a long time, you know, like when I'm at home and I'm doing my own thing and I've got all of my products and everything, it was easy enough to do. So I think when I'm traveling, I might take some stuff to do my hair wavy, but I'm just, if it's kind of like a trip like that where I'm just not going to have a lot of time, I think I will plan to just either dry my hair, like air dry it, or I'm going to blow dry it and I'm going to have to curl it or something to get a little more texture in it, because when I blow dry my hair, it goes a little fluffy. It'll kind of smooth out over the course of the day, but I don't particularly like how it looks. I feel like my hair feels and looks less dense. Like I have low density hair to begin with. It's pretty thin, very fine, thin hair. So I didn't particularly like it. But you know what? I was wearing a hat. I didn't even care. I was blocking the sun. I was wearing a hat. It was fine. And then when I wasn't wearing a hat, I had it up on the top of my head in a messy knot. So you know what? It was vacation hair, don't care. I'm just trying to go with that mantra. I'm reminding myself, you don't care, Christina. I obviously do, but I was trying to not care. I thought it was hilarious. Okay. Let's see. is it Shaka or Chaka? I'm not sure how to say your name. Was wondering what the mat I'm using. Andrea is correct. It is the Altenew Sticky Mat. It's 9 by 12. So I'm just going to get a few more little spots on here where my ink coverage is uneven. I'm just going to try to get to even it out a little bit. Now this ink will dry back. It'll soak into the paper and it'll sort of even out. But I can tell in some of these areas that I just need a little more ink to get really good coverage. Okay. Diane, yes, I do have naturally curly hair. Like this is about the texture it gets. It's a wave, a loose wave. But if I blow dry my hair, like just with the brush, and it kind of straightens out, I feel like I need to add more texture in so that it looks a little bit thicker, because if it's just left to be straight, it's pretty thin. That's what I meant by having to add curls. But if I put lots of product in it and I diffuse it, then it really enhances the natural curls. So in that case, I don't need to add curls because they're already there. It's a strange thing. Okay. Jen says, I use the Crest Bond treatment instead of Olaplex and the Crest Detox shampoo. The rest of my products are EcoSlay. Awesome. I do have the, is it like Repair Bond Salve or something from Craftsmith? I have that, but I haven't tried it. I bought so many products just to explore and figure out what my hair needed. And I have even more to try out too. Okay, this is looking pretty good. It's pretty even. I think it will actually, you know, dry back and even out even more. So let's clean up this stencil. I'm going to try and not get ink all over myself. Let's see how we did with not having the ink pool in the corners. Looks like we did great. Look at that. Almost has this like velvet texture right now, doesn't it? Isn't that interesting? All right, so I have some rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle. It's just regular, I think it's like 70% rubbing alcohol, something like that. And I will spray all over the stencil and then just wipe it down with a microfiber cloth. This just cleans off all of that ink, and then the stencil dries really quickly because of that alcohol. So here we are. Stencil is all clean. I'm going to set it aside and we'll move on to the other stencils. So next I'm going to do the flowers themselves. Just get this lined up the best I can. And let that hold up there at the top and the bottom. In fact, just to be a little more on the cautious side, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of Post-it tape on these two sides just to really hold it in place. And the color I've chosen for, well, colors I've chosen for the flowers are Buttercup, Wildberry, and Fig. They're somewhat similar to what I used over here, but over here I used Honeycomb, let's see, Honeycomb, Dragon Fruit, and Plumberry. So kind of like similar shades, but these are just a little bit different. I'm going to start with Buttercup, and I will start, I'm going to use my little brush here, and I'm just getting the Buttercup ink. In fact, you know, I probably could switch to a different blending brush for this. Let's switch to this one right here, because I'm doing kind of like bigger, large areas. And I can come back and add a little bit more yellow if I need to, but I really just want to get a little bit of this yellow because then I can transition it to the pink and then onto the purple shade. I'm going to come back to the smaller brush and just really get this kind of coming in. Okay. And then to Wildberry. I'll switch brushes. I'm just going to start ink blending this up here at the top. I really want it to kind of blend into that yellow and kind of transition a little bit. Just kind of trying to get that right across, kind of like in a little stripe. I'm going to change the direction of my circles as well. Okay. And then we're going to go on to Fig and just get these up here. My Fig ink pad is very juicy. I've got to be careful. I forgot. In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to switch to a smaller blending brush for this so that I have a little bit more control. Getting this purple kind of transitioning. I'll do a little bit of purple right up here. Using some pretty intense colors. Wasn't even thinking. I'm going to have to do the centers of the flowers. So I might have to do them in a different color, or maybe even, I don't know, maybe like a gold embossing paste might be good. All right, so let's lift this up. Let's see how we did. Okay, so we've got a little bit of white showing up here on this top edge. I just didn't have the stencil perfectly on there. So let's fix that. Looks like it's about right there. I'll just use whatever ink is left on my brush and kind of just get this top edge. It's mostly showing with the purple with the Fig. Hoping that was enough. Close enough. All right, clean off my stencil again. Just with that rubbing alcohol. Sometimes it's nice to just run the stencils under water. But I'm just doing this quick and dirty here, so I'm using some alcohol. Okay, before we do the centers of the flowers, let's do the leaves, the stems and leaves, I should say. Let's get this lined up. Okay, that's looking pretty good, right about right there. Okay, I chose Tidepool. Tidepool is the same color I used on the original, this one right here. So I'm going to use Tidepool again. I'll switch to one of my lighter blending brushes. Just going to put those other two back. And for this one, I'm just going to go over each stem. I think like a lighter kind of teal green like this looks great. Kind of has a little bit of the same tones as the Rainforest color, which is what I use for the background. Okay, let's see here. Oh, Leanne and Diana are talking about unpacking. You know what? I've unpacked, and then I've taken everything out of my suitcases because I needed to get out my souvenirs that were breakable, which everything came through just fine. The only thing that broke was I did buy this mosaic cat that didn't break, but the box that it was in did. So I'm glad it was in the box to protect it, because it, you know, looks like there's quite a bit of pressure on it. But Delta, or rather KLM, because my first flight coming home was on KLM, they lost my bag. Lost, not really. It was a delay. It didn't make my flight. So thankfully, like while I was midair, probably somewhere over the Atlantic, they put it on another plane that was coming to Salt Lake City. And that one came and arrived about 6 hours after my original flight. So I was home for 6 hours before my bag showed up. They actually delivered them to my doorstep, which was lovely. And everything was inside. It was great. No problems. But I really was kicking myself for actually checking my little rolling carry-on, my small one that I had planned to take onto the plane with me. I was at the check-in counter, and the lady behind the counter, I mean, there was a language barrier. She had a really thick accent. It was early in the morning. I was only half awake. And she checked my first bag, and then she looked at my rolling bag and up to me, and she had this like concerned look on her face. And she's like, "Are you checking that bag?" And I thought, yes. Like I didn't know. And I was like, let me take my batteries and stuff out of it, and then you can take it. So I checked it. And then later I thought to myself, I think she was asking me that because I had a backpack and a purse and then my rolling bag, and you're only allowed to take 2 items onto the plane, a larger carry-on item and then your small personal item. And she was probably looking at it, and she was like, "Hello, lady, you've got 3 items." She didn't know. If I would have thought about it at the time, I would have said, "Oh, I'm going to consolidate and put my purse into my backpack before I board the plane." But I didn't think to say that. And I think I would have, if I would have said that, she would have been fine. And she would have been like, "Oh, okay. No need to check your bag," but whatever. Whatever. It all got home in the end. I just had to wait a little bit longer for my bag, which was fine. Okay. Just getting a little more on here. Okay. Ah, lovely. It's looking nice and dramatic. We love that. Okay. Leanne, yeah, it was the one from Casa Baccio, but it was fine because the cat inside did not break. It was just the box, like the plastic box that they had it in to protect it. So basically the box did its job because the cat inside was fine. And I had like a little bottle of like room spray for the bathroom that leaked a little bit in my toiletries bag, but I was like, whatever. I just wiped off the bottles inside and it was fine. Okay, so now we have the centers of the flowers, and I really should have taken note of where these were going, but I really didn't. I guess I could do this. I'm going to put the stems on top, and then I can kind of get the stems lined up, roughly. Roughly lined up where they're on the project. Press that down. Then I can just slide this off, and then the centers are in the right spot. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Buttercup, and over here it's already the color, so I might have to do a little bit of Wildberry just down in that spot. So I'll do just a little bit of Wildberry for the centers on the yellow flowers. And then I'm going to switch to Buttercup. I think that should work okay. So now I'm going to switch to Buttercup. And hopefully, like sometimes with the Conqueror 9th inks, this happens with the Simon Says Stamp and a bunch of other ones that kind of have a similar ink formulation. If you put a lighter color over top of the dark color, it will eat away at the bottom colors. And it actually does show. It's really cool. Okay. Let's see. Beth says, as a not so tall girl, when I travel alone, I really struggle with, should I check my carry-on or not? I usually don't, but I always struggle with the lift into the overhead. That is true. That is something I took into consideration. I mean, I'm tall, but my carry-on bag was pretty heavy. And I also wondered if maybe she wanted me to check it because it was overweight for the carry-on. Okay, you can, I don't know if you can see, but up here I had some of that like pooling of color that I was talking about because that yellow was pretty juicy. I'm going to leave it. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah. All right, clean off that stencil. And then before we move on, I'm going to go back to, well, I need those to dry. Maybe I'll just do a little of this. Pick up some of that ink. It's kind of pooling. Because I could see it kind of shiny. I'm going to come back and I'm going to put this stencil back over the top. And then we're going to add that splatter texture. And I'll just use a white pigment ink for that. All right, put those little blending brushes away. One has escaped. I don't know. Oh, it's a screen. There we go. Okay, so also in the release, we have the Splatter Texture Bundle, which has these 3 products in it. We've got the background stamp, which has like this kind of cool gradient from like really intense kind of splatter to more like, you know, dispersed. We got the Splatter Texture Stencils. So you've got one that's really kind of airy and open and one that has a little more intensity. And then there are Splatter Texture Stamps. So you can add a little bit of texture onto your projects. And they're broken into individual pieces, but you could also have them all together. Just mount them all together on your stamping tool or acrylic block and stamp them all at the same time. So I guess I could even do that texture, or I could do the stencil. I'm trying to decide. I think I'll stencil. I think I'll just keep it to stenciling. Okay. Hey, Kathy. All right, so here are the 2 stencils. I'm just trying to decide which I want to do. The one that's more airy or the one that's, yeah, I'll do this one that's more dispersed. And I'm putting it right over, actually, maybe I do want this other one. I believe I used this larger one for the original. Yeah, we'll just put this right over top. It just needs a couple points to stick down. And then I have some white pigment ink. This is Concord & Ninth white pigment ink. And I don't even know if I have a blending brush that's set up for white pigment ink. Do I? That's white pigment. We're good. We'll just use this. And then I'm ink blending, trying to add this white over top. Is that showing up? It is. Lovely. So this is only going to apply the white pigment ink to the background area. So over that rainforest, it's going to completely not go over the flowers. We just want the background. That's a little bit different than my original card design. So this is just going to come down. And then I'm going to take that rainforest ink and we're going to ink blend from the bottom. And that will add a little bit more of a dark texture all over. Okay, this doesn't have to be precise. We're just adding some texture. I'm using quite a bit of pressure because it's going through the thickness of 2 stencils to get down to the cardstock itself. Just really kind of pressing that down into it. Pouncing up and down helps too. All right, we'll see how well this went. All right, okay, I'm just checking up on the chat a little bit. All right. Just adding a little bit more on these little areas. All right, let's see how that looks before I peel it up. I think that looks pretty good. Just adding a little bit of that texture. Almost looks like little, you know, a little bokeh effect happening. And then now I'll lift this up, and it's not on the flowers at all. It's just the background. I think that looks kind of cute. Okay, I'll clean these up later. I'll have to get the pigment ink off. Actually, maybe I will just do it. I'll just clean it off with my alcohol again. And that pigment ink is pretty thick. It's sticky. So I'm making sure I add lots of alcohol to get that cleaned up. I need to clean off this stencil as well. Pretty good. Okay. So now I'm going to ink blend from the bottom, but I hate to ink blend onto straight paper on top of these grip mats. So I'm going to do it on some paper, and I'm going to clean up my grip mat first because I have ink that went off the edge. All right. I'll set this aside for a different project. And then I can grab a piece of paper that I'll just put down to catch all of my ink blending as I blend onto the bottom of this. Hi, Daphne. Thank you. All right, I'm just taping this down to my work surface here. And then I'm going to take my project that I've been working on, and I just want to ink blend from the bottom a little bit. Like on this original card, I had a little bit more of the blue coming out on the bottom, and that's so that this white greeting would stand out over top. So I want to help do that again. So I'm going to come in with Rainforest on the bottom. And it's just going to darken up the bottom just so it's a little bit easier to see that white greeting on top. And it does cut back on the brightness of the yellow flowers, but I think it's a necessary sacrifice to make sure that the greeting really stands out. Gives it that drama at the bottom of the card. Okay, I'm hoping that'll be enough. I think it might be. That's about how high this other one went up. Okay, so let's do a little bit of decision making on how we're going to cut this down. Because I could make it a 5x7 card. If I do, I'll just cut it down to be, you know, a little smaller than a 5x7. I'm trying to decide. If I do it, all right, I'm going to look at my going to my essentials dies, and I'm grabbing my 5x7. This is what an actual 5x7 card would be. I could cut it down like that and just have a white on the edges. I could do that. Or I could have it be like this. I like that too. fact, I really like that idea. I really like that. Let's do that. Okay. All right, I'm just getting my cutting plates. Actually, I don't even need this die for this. I'll just use my trimmer. So I'm just going to cut this down so that it's, you know, 5 inches wide, basically. That's all I really need. And I'm doing it this way so that I can utilize the top and bottom of the cardstock and make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, how much in the center do I want this to be? We'll do that. And then right there. Okay, so it is now 5 inches wide. And I need to grab a 5x7 card. Okay. Hi, Judith. The mail call will be this Wednesday. I was out of town, so I wasn't able to do mail call for June. So I'm going to do it on Wednesday at 2:00 p.m. Mountain Time. Okay, so I'm going to have this right here, but I need to have my stacked grading that's going to go on the bottom. So I'm going to cut that now, and I've prepped a piece of white cardstock with the Altenew double adhesive sheet. And I just found it was so much easier to stack this particular die cut, this particular die, when it was on the double adhesive sheet. It just made it so much easier. So the die set it comes from is actually from the More Thin Frames A2 and A7 dies. And you'll notice that it's actually missing those frames. And that's because I took them off, like this is supposed to be right here. I'm actually storing those on the same magnet sheets as my other thin frames. So when I designed the more thin frames, I made them perfectly sized to just fit right in between. So if you store your dies like I do, you can just have them go in just like that. And then these individual die cut gratings, I'm just gonna have to put them on a different board or in a different pocket. I just haven't done it yet. Okay, take that one die off. We're going to start cutting all these out. And I just basically need 4 of them. So we're just going to get these cut. Carrie's asking, did I bring back any inspiration for future designs from this trip? Possibly. There were lots of really great tile designs that I really, really loved. Oh, hello. Oh no, what happened? Sorry, y'all. I like opened my drawer and there was stuff on my keyboard and it freaked out. Okay, we're back. So here, this is my tip for using the double-sided adhesive sheets. So I take it off the paper like this, and then I can just use, I'm going to use this scratch paper that I used for my ink blending before. And this is what I found works best. I just place it down like that, and then I use a little pokey tool, and I'm going to press the interior areas down onto the paper. Trying to not press any of the actual die itself. And then I can lift this up, and it leaves behind just the interior pieces. Looks like I've got a few that didn't, and I've got one that came out. It might still be on the sheet. I'll have to look at that. Is it still on the sheet? Which one is that? Friendship? It is not there. I don't know where it went. Oh, it's this right here. All right, so I need to make sure I keep that. But it gets rid of most of the little interior pieces that were really annoying before without too much trouble. Okay. Just getting that little piece out of the way. Okay. So I can even come over here and I can get this positioned where I want it. I can still kind of move it around. In fact, I need to move this off the magnet. Thank you. I don't want the magnet right now. Okay. Get this kind of positioned where I want it. I think about right there. Then I can start pressing through the little pokies, the little spots. Oh, it didn't work. It got that one on there though. I might have to just punch it out like this. Yeah, there we go. There were a couple spots that didn't want to come out. Okay. That really doesn't want to stick down, but that's okay. If it doesn't want to stick, I can peel it up and I'll use glue to stick it down in a bit. But that holds it in place. So now I can start cutting the other pieces. And I'm going to take this little guy. We'll get him in the right position. There we go. And I'll put that over top. And let's continue cutting. I think once you have a couple of them stacked, then the brilliance of using the double-sided adhesive sheet makes sense. Okay. Set this off to the side. I don't need my card front right now. I'll just peel this up. And I can do the same thing I did before where I'm pressing those interior pieces onto my scratch paper. And I lost my little eye here again, but it's still on there. So I'll go back and grab that in a minute. Any other ones I need to grab? I think that's about it. Oh, the two O's and the Y. But I just found this was the way to make removing all these little bits the least frustrating. Because I know that was like when Sika and I were testing all of these methods out, that was one of our main complaints, was having all the little stuff like hanging out was really annoying. Like all the little pieces that would stick to our fingers. Yeah, that part was annoying. All right, just getting this stacked first. I'll grab this one as well. Seriously though, not having to deal with a bunch of glue on all of these was lovely. I felt it just went so much faster not to have to worry about it. Especially for like a large grading like this, but it is pretty intricate. Okay, and then all you have to do is have it catch. Oh, hello, that's cute. Well, I guess we're not adhering it yet. I think it's because the ink is very wet on the actual card, like on the project. So it doesn't want to stick. I think that's why. You can use your tweezers or your pokey tool to like aid you in getting everything stacked just right. I think it works really well. Yeah, I think that was a whole lot less painful. All right. Let's die cut that again. We just need 4. Looking at the barber says if you rub the cutting side of the die with a used dryer sheet, the die cut will pop out easier. Possibly. I'm also using a thicker cardstock today. That could also be why. Why it's like not popping out quite as easy. Okay. Oh, this time both of the eyes popped out. We love that. All right, so I'm just going to systematically go through and press in all of these areas. All right, and then I can lift up the die. Oh, yay, that time I got everything. Love it. All right. I can even kind of hover over where just add those 2 dots on the eyes. Since I already know these are going right here on the card, I can just stack those right there. Okay. And then the actual die cut, just pop this out. Okay. Easy peasy. So doing the adhesive sheets, like I've realized is not realistic for every stacked die cut like this. But I think for these like more intricate ones, I think it's worth it. Like it cuts down on the frustration for sure. And it still gives me enough time that I can kind of manipulate them and get them to line up just right. All right, one more. Okay. Just peel this up. Looks like I got both dots on the eyes. So let's get those eyes out first so I don't lose them. Got one stuck to the back here. Where did it go? I lost one already. How is that possible? Oh no, it's right here. We're good. It stuck to itself. Okay. Okay. So I'll just do my little interiors again. Okay. Lift that up. Got all the right spots. Just poke this out. We are nearing the completion of the card. After I do this, I just have to glue it together. We are so close, my friends. Okay. All right, and then I am going to add some liquid glue to the back of this one, even though it is sticky still. But I think to make it really stick to the ink blended background, I think I'm going to have to do that. Cannot get this piece. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to use a little bit of glue on the back. Where is that tool from? Which tool are you asking about? The little pokey tool? That is a craft pick from Tim Holtz. This glue is being dumb. I have another one that I have started, so I'm going to just go to that one. This is how I would have to apply the glue if I hadn't have put the double-sided adhesive on all the layer pieces. Once I have it adhered, I'll just put my paperweight on top and it'll press all the layers together. Okay. Trying to get that up in the right spot so it lines up with the dots on the eyes that I've already adhered. Pretty good. Put that paperweight on there. I'll just hold it down for a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to get everything ready for the card front. So I just have my 5x7 card front here. Press that down really quick. Got some little glue squidging out in some areas. So I can actually like clean that up with my craft pick. This glue does dry clear, which is helpful. All right, probably should have just adhered this to the card front before I adhered the grading, but that's okay. I'm just putting some tape runner adhesive all on the back. And then I'm going to use my grid mat and kind of line up my card. And then as I go to adhere it to the card front, I can get it lined up so it's nice and straight. Okay, not bad. And I think if you wanted to make it even more dramatic, like you wanted the dark color everywhere, you could have used like a Rainforest or even Midnight on the top and bottom. I think that could be really pretty. I'm going to put that right there for just a moment. I'll clean up my space just a little bit. But that's not bad for a card made in an hour. I think they're pretty quick. So the main products that I use for this card are listed down below. The Daisy Bouquet Stencil, the Splatter Texture Stencils, and the More Thin Frames A2 and A7 dies. That's the die set that has this greeting in it. All right, so here are the two cards. The one we did today just looks a little bit different. You can see a little bit more of that Daisy Bouquet pattern. All right, I'm going to do a quick spiel for those who watch the edited replay tomorrow morning. And then I'll stick around for just a few more minutes for some questions. So if you asked a question earlier and I didn't answer it, I just saw Maria ask one right now, so I'll get back to it in a moment. But if you had a question earlier and I didn't catch it, now's the time to put that up there, and then I'll get to it. Okay, so here we go. Here's the spiel for the edited replay. So here is the finished card for tonight. You can see that there's just a little bit of a color difference between the two cards. I think they both turned out great. By putting it on a 5x7 card, I was able to use a little bit more of the finished image area from the stencil. And I also did the splatter texture. I did that with the background stencil already on the project, so it did block out the flowers, whereas over here I did the splatter texture over the entire image. So just a little bit of a different look with that. You can kind of play around with that. All the supplies are listed down below in the video description, so I hope you'll check that out. And don't forget that mail call is this Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. I hope you'll join me, and we're going to be opening cards with the theme of nature. So it could be flowers, it could be sunset scenes, it could be whatever. I have no clue. In fact, I need to stop by my mailbox and pick up more of the mail because it's been waiting for me since I was out of town. So we're going to open the mail on Wednesday, so I hope you'll join me. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in another video very soon. Okay, now let's answer some questions. All right, let's see here. Geraldine saying, it's gorgeous, Christina. Loving the gradient and the bokeh spots. Thank you. I think it really does kind of look like bokeh, right? It's kind of cool. Ooh, Jenny says Daisy Bouquet is sold out. Sorry about that. You might be able to find it at other online retailers. Yeah. Okay. Maria was asking, how do you keep your glue bottles from not clogging? So this particular glue from Honeybee has been really good. It doesn't clog for me very much. When it does clog, I'm usually able to get it going again with like a really fine needle, just like poking that down into it. I'm trying to find, I did have a needle out here that I was doing that with, but I cannot find it right at this moment. So that's been pretty good. But I do know that there are a few other kind of glue bottles out there, like you can transfer your glue into them and they tend to not clog as much. I believe the Gina K glue bottles are like that. You don't get as much clogging, but for a long time there, I was doing, let me see if I have one that I can show you. Maybe something I haven't used in a while. Sometimes you can change the tops of the bottles to something like this where there's a little cap. Looks like I did that on this enamel accents as well. That does help things from getting clogged. But also something you might be able to do is when you finish using your glue, you can like tap it on your surface and try to get any of the glue out, and then get all the air going to the bottom, and then put your cap on and close it really tightly. Sometimes that helps too. So yeah, so glue is sticky. It's hard to really prevent that all the time. Okay, let's see here. Carrie's asking if I got her email. I did. I just haven't had a chance to reply since I was out of town. Oh, Kathleen, that's a really good idea. Kathleen says the splatter could look like fireflies or bugs, especially if you put a yellow over the top of the white. You could definitely make it look like that. Okay. What color did I use for the background on the original? This was Midnight from Concord and Ninth. Let's see. I know, enamel accents, right? Haven't seen that in ages, for sure. All right, I'm scrolling up to see if I can catch any other questions. Let's see. Vicky says, I just ordered the Daisy stencil and the splatter stamp the other day. Can't wait to get them. I'm so excited for you. It's good. I think they're really good staples for your crafting stash. Let's see. I'm scrolling up. Oh yeah, the basting brush technique with the glue. Kathy Zilsey sent that to me before she shared it on her Instagram, and I thought, oh, that's so creative. I haven't tried it yet myself, but I could see how it could be really useful. Let's see here. Okay. Looks like Carrie got that answered question, or her question answered about the tool. Carrie says Gina K just drops the die on the table or floor and the die pops out. True, but I had adhesive on the back, so I didn't want to do that quite like that. Paula says coming in late, but this is so pretty. I ordered the stencil. Can't wait to get it. I'm so glad you ordered the stencil. I hope you love it. I think it'll be great. Let's see here. Scrolling up a little bit more. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I think we're going to close up for the night. Oh, yes, exactly. It's beautiful. It has a whimsical night feel in a field of flowers. I totally agree. I love it. Okay, all right, we're going to close up for the night. Thanks for joining me. Like I reminded those in the edited replay little spiel, I'll be back on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time so that we can open the mail. So the theme for June was nature cards. I have not looked at them. I have no idea what you all have in store for me. I'm excited to open them and see what you've created. And so I hope you'll come back and join me and we'll open the mail together. Thanks so much for joining me tonight, and I will see you all in another video very soon. Thanks for watching.